Now we're going to discuss some of the roles that are the new roles being created because of various AI, proliferation of AI in the world in various aspects, business, industry, home, and so forth. So the thing is that with the advent of this AI technologies in several areas, it has created a demand for AI professionals, which did not exist previously. In fact, this is one of the most interesting and exciting areas to look at. So once you learn AI technologies, what is it that you're expected to do? That is the underlying theme, right? Once you learn AI technologies, then you look for jobs, okay, in various industries and make yourself more useful to them. So what are those new rules, new roles that are being created and which you are trying to fill it, right? And of course, one of the responsibilities will be to actually achieve those goals. And there's a high level of expectation that has been created. You know, the word hype, a lot of hype has been created in the research industry, in the industry as well, and in the industry across where it is still not reached the level that it needs to, or people think it should, so that we need to have the right kind of people trained to fill those positions. So demand is being created. How is a job created? A job is created based on the requirement of the industry, of the society, of technology, and so forth. So they say that we need someone who can tell us how to use machine learning, for instance, right? How to use AI for benefits in my organization so I can target my clients and customers better than my competitor. So this thing, when this need comes up in the mind of business owners, industry, they then start looking around and talking to people. How to go about it? Who can help me do it? Right? So this is what we're trying to highlight. So the surge has led to creation of these demand for requirement of new rules. And most people think that these new roles that we are going to talk about are just an extension of the task that is being going on as of today. That really may not be a true understanding picture. However, before we discuss those, remember one thing, and this is very exciting. Since people want to use new technology and they can sense and realize the importance and the benefits that they get, the business benefits that they will get. So that's a driving force. And because of that driving force, people sitting in the business areas, they are now asking, demanding, give me someone who can do work for me. So naturally, the way it happens, since there's more demand than supply, okay, people such as yourselves, once you are AI experts trained in these technologies, you can demand, premium compensation. Basically, there are two types of roles that are being now created: technical side and the non-technical side. On the technical side, we have the data scientist, the machine learning engineer, ML engineer, as we call it, and basically an AI researcher. So three categories. On the technical side, we have roles like consultants, product managers, and the interface designers, UI, UX designer, interface creators. So let's start with the technical resources. By the way, as I may have said somewhere else, the challenging, interesting thing is that AI does not have a standardized definition of itself. Okay, various definitions have been used. Likewise, there's no standardized terminology on the roles that AI needs or need to have. So you might find that a data scientist in one company may be working or doing the same thing as a machine learning engineer in another company. It might happen, it's happening today. because the role, and then of course, once you're moving from one state to the other where people didn't know AI as much, and now they know AI and they want to use it. So sometimes they say, all right, I'm not concerned with the title. I just want a person who can help me do it. Fair enough. But as I said, these things will settle down. But the important thing is that you should know what you are, what you want to do, and then be able to deliver on that. So first of all, the thing is you need to understand the organization culture, work culture as well. And before, in fact, you do that, you are also, it will be important for you to clarify the terminology that is being used. Who is going to play this role of a machine learning engineer, what he is, and what role is he going to play? What is a data scientist, and how will we call him? What responsibilities? So classification and identification of these roles and responsibilities, ultimately you will be facing that. So you need to have clarity. A data scientist typically is one who uses a rigorous approach to the use of data in the enterprise. So large organizations, they have large amounts of data. For instance, the Sui gas company, it has millions and millions of bills created every month. Let's say 6 to 7 million. And it's about 50 years old. Now just imagine 50-year-old company with about 6 to 7 million consumers and their bills every month. Look at the tremendous amount of data that they have, which is, in other words, big data and so forth. So a data scientist will rigorously apply techniques to actually sift through, analyze, and come up with certain things. So typically statistical analysis, who will default on his payment, who will not pay on time, who will pay late, and so forth. Typically, of course, this falls slightly outside of AI realm. But the thing is that all of this combined together is part of AI. The machine learning engineers, ML engineers as we call them, they basically apply machine learning, the neural network approach, to develop AI systems. So in comparison to data scientists, the ML engineers are often expected to work more directly with software products and thinking about integrating machine learning into a continuously operating system. That's what a machine learning engineer will do. Today, there are several types of software engineers making extensive use of ML and other types of AI techniques that are perhaps specific to be done by ML engineers. So what happens is there's a demand created, but the existing people in the organizations, they tend to educate themselves as much as they can on the fly, and then tend to behave as if they are good machine learning engineers and so forth. So just to highlight some of these things. Plenty of software engineers are more adept, as I said, at developing AI than junior machine level engineers as well. That's another fact. If you're experienced enough and you've been a data scientist for a while, you can actually grab the basic concepts to begin with. Whereas you yourself, being a fresh ML engineer, right, may not be as adept, okay, as quick and fast as those people. But that's the advantage versus disadvantage. You're starting new. And third type is the AI researcher. And AI researchers are the ones who large organizations use to actually discover, go deep down into AI technologies, not SMEs, small, medium enterprises, or others. So that's the third category, right? Data scientist, ML engineer, and AI researcher. So there is a dearth. There's a dearth of AI talent. And then organizational needs. You need to understand what they really want, and you need to have a closer understanding between them. Then comes types of non-technical. Either they're consultants, product managers, interface designers. And these are non-technical jobs. So the important thing is that if you're trying to work on an AI project, an ML project, you need to create a team. And of course, you have ML engineers, but also need to be aware that the non-technical side people, must also be aware of the AI issues. Otherwise, you have a disconnect between a highly technical part of the team and a highly non-technical part of the team. And though that linkage is not there, that can become a bit more challenging. Typically, consultants are used by organizations to understand their needs. That's a good idea. So if you're good enough, you can guide them how to go about doing it. For instance, you can say build versus buy. Most people who are techies, they want to build. They don't like using pre-built software, right? So a very careful balance has to be maintained. The product manager, once again, very important role, and that actually decides whether a project within an organization will either see light of day or not. UI designers, as I said, AI techniques really led to a newer requirement in terms of user interface design. And by the way, one last thing, AI has come big time. It's no longer a fad. It's not fashion. It's here to stay. Enabling organizations, once again, as I said, you need to understand their work cultures and then bridge the gap. So not just being technical, you need to understand those issues. Common business applications, I just mentioned, a few of this, medical diagnosis, okay, customer attrition, okay. So you have thousands of customers, you want to know which customers are going to lose you. You need to track them, okay. What is it they like, what is it they don't like? You need to be careful. Fraud detection, product recommendation, you bought this, you might want to buy that as well. Data security, very important. In the industry context of the Industry 4.0, once again, the systems being used, the outcomes, they are kind of interrelated. And machine learning is actually playing a big role in that direction. Gaming industry, one of the fastest growing industries. And this has actually gone on. If you look at the birth of AI, ever since then, gaming industry or game playing has been used to understand the human brain as well. The most important things, you must realize that technology is a double-edged sword. A double-edged sword, meaning it can cut both ways. It can cut in the right direction and save a life if in the hands of the right person, the surgeon. But the same knife given to, let's say, a thug or a mugger, it's going to kill a person. So technology, yes, very interesting, but we have to be very responsible and realize that it can be used both ways. So this is some of the things that the society needs to be aware of. We as IT professionals, we know how technology is being used, but we can't really predict today the potential misuses of this as well. So this is a debatable issue, national, the global level as well. And everybody needs to come together. And then, of course, there are, on the right side, we need to reduce poverty, improve education, deliver healthcare, and eradicate diseases. These are the positive uses. But bear in mind that they can be, so people need to be aware where to draw a line, be very careful in terms of using that. And most importantly, we need to work together on this. I hope that this has been interesting. Try to highlight some of the demands, needs for people. There's a dearth of AI professionals, and this is why we are actually doing this course, to reduce your fear of the new technology, as well as encourage those people to actually go and use it and become big earners for themselves. Thank you very much.